statement and garbage collection. Before we will discuss about Java, let's discuss why we need Java if we have C programming languages. The reason behind this is C programming language support developing only stand-alone application. That means it can only be executed in local system. It cannot be executed from remote system via network call. While Java is mainly designed to develop internet application by providing platform independency. And other thing is that Java syntax is similar to C, but it omits many of the features like pointers, structure, union, operator overloading, multiple inheritance, and many more that make C languages complex, confusing, and unsafe. Java is a high-level programming language. It was developed by James Gosling at Sun Microsystem in 1995. And these are the different versions of Java, out of which Java SE 8 is the latest version, which is released in 18th March 2014. It has some advanced features as compared to Java 6 and Java 7. Features of Java. To support internet application development, Java programming has following features. Simple. Java is easy to write and debug because Java does not use the pointers explicitly. Object-oriented. Java is purely object-oriented programming language that we will discuss in OOPS concept. Robust. Robust simply means strong. Java uses strong memory management by automatic garbage collection, and there is no concept of pointers that avoids security problem. There is exception handling and type checking mechanism in Java. All these points make Java robust. Distributed. Java was designed with the distributed environment. It can be run over internet. Multi-threaded. It provides integrated support for multi-threaded programming. Dynamic. It provides information at runtime that is used to resolve and verify access to objects at runtime. Portable. Java can execute in any environment for which there is a Java runtime system. It is platform independent and can be run on any platform. High performance. Bytecodes are highly optimized and JVM can execute them much faster. Secure. Java provides a secure means of creating internet application. These are the features of Java. Java lifecycle. Java programs normally undergo 4 phases. Edit. In Java, all program or source code is first written in plain text files by using Edit Plus, Notepad, or any IDE like Eclipse or NetBeans. Save the file with the .java extension. Compile. Compiler converts a Java source code into bytecode and storing these bytecode in a separate file, that is .class file. Load. Class loader stores bytecodes in memory. Execute. JVM, that stands for Java Virtual Machine, is a software that executes Java bytecode by converting bytecodes into machine language of the current operating system. And Java bytecode run in all operating system irrespective of the operating system in which the Java program is compiled, because the JVM is available on many different operating systems. Platform independency. Java runs on a variety of platforms such as Windows, macOS, and the various versions of Unix. Java program is platform independent, and its slogan is like write once, run anywhere. But Java software is platform dependent because JVM is platform dependent and is available for every operating system separately. Java software. There are two types of Java software, that is JDK and JRE. JDK stands for Java Developer Kit. JDK has both compiler and JVM. So, using JDK we can develop, compile and execute new Java application. And also we can modify, compile and execute already developed application. But JRE has only JVM. Hence, using JRE we can only execute already developed application. JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment. Tools for Java program. We need three things to run a Java program. 1. Operating system. It may be Windows or Linux, etc. Then download the latest version of Java software related to your OS. Go through http://www.oracle.com. From there, go to Downloads, Popular Downloads, Java for Developers. From there, download the latest version of JDK and install in your system. Then we need one text editor like Notepad, Edit Plus or any IDE like Eclipse IDE. I already installed JDK in my system, so let's check. Whenever we are installing JDK in our system, then by default one folder is created in program files with the name Java. Here our software is installed and saved in our system. As we already installed Java software in our system, let's check this example. Here I have created one class A with main method and I am printing some statement hi on console. Let's check the output. javac command is used to compile the program. See, here we are getting error like javac is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program or batch file. Because just by installing software, its binary and library files are not available from other directories automatically. We must update environment variable with the software binary and library files path. If you observe the above error, it means javac is not available outside of Java software installed directory. To solve this problem and to access all Java tools throughout operating system from all folders, we must update environment variable. So to solve that problem, we have to set the binary and library files path in the environment variable. First, let's discuss about binary and library files and environment variable. Binary files, they have commands to compile and execute a Java program like javac and Java. Library files, they have logic that is used to develop another application. Environment variable, the variable created in operating system to store software's binary and library files are called environment variable. There are two environment variables to store the software binary and library files in Java. They are path and the class path. Path is used by operating system to identify binary files, and it is a mediator between developer and operating system. Class path, it is used by compiler and JVM to identify Java library files. It is a mediator between developer and compiler or JVM to inform the library files path. Those are used in our source code. And in two ways we can set the environment variable. First is temporary setting, another is permanent setting. In temporary setting, before we are going to compile and execute our program, we have to set the path and the class path variable. By using this command, set path is equal to, this is the path for where your JDK software is installed in your system, and this set class path, this is the path for tools.jar and the rt.jar. This is about temporary setting. Now let's check how to set the binary files and the library files path in the environment variable permanently. Click on my computer, right click, properties, go to advanced system setting, environment variable. Here you have to, in user variables, you have to take path and set the path where your Java software is installed in your system, that is C drive, program files, Java, JDK, then bin. Up to here you have to set the path in your environment variable. Okay. Now system variable. For that one take class path. Start with the dot. It is mandatory to place this dot operator in class path environment variable. It represents present working directory. If we do not place dot operator in class path, JVM cannot execute classes from present working directory, and it terminates Java program execution by throwing exception java.lang.no class def found error. Now set the path for your rt.jar and tools.jar. JDK means starting from Java, then JDK, go to library folder and then set the path for tools.jar. Library, then tools.jar. Now again set the path for rt.jar, that is available in JDK, JRE, library. Here is rt.jar, this one. So these are library files. Slash rt.jar. Click on OK. 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 Here we set the binary files and library files path permanently. Now we are going to execute that program that we have already written, class A with main method, and we are going to print one statement, that is hi. Let's check this example this time. First compile javac a.java. Javac it is used for compilation. See, here we didn't get any kind of error this time. Now execute this program, Java A, and our program executes fine, and we are getting hi statement. This is all about how to set path for your binary and library files in the environment variable. Identifiers. Identifier is the name of the basic programming elements. That means names used for classes, variables and methods are called identifier. While defining identifier, we must follow below rules, else it leads to compile time error. All identifiers should begin with the letter, that is capital A to capital Z or small a to small z, currency character or an underscore. After the first character, identifiers can have any combination of characters. A keyword cannot be used as an identifier because they are available throughout JVM directly. Most importantly, identifiers are case sensitive. That means small a is not equal to capital A. Identifiers should not contain space in the middle of words. These are the few examples of legal and illegal identifiers. Legal identifiers like number 1 student, then $salary, underscore value. We can only use two special characters with the identifier, that is dollar and underscore. Other than this, we cannot use any special character. Illegal identifiers 123 ABC and dash salary. Final static. Final and static are the two keywords that is used in Java. So we cannot use these two with the identifiers. Naming convention. To make our code more readable and understandable so that we can save lots of time, we must follow coding standards. If we do not follow coding standard or naming convention, our code is not accepted in project. So it's like a contract among all Java developers to develop project with the same style of code. Naming a class, interface or enum. In this, every word first letter should be capital. For example, print stream string words finder. In print stream, two words are there and every word's first letter is started with the capital. Naming a variable. In variable name, first word first letter should be small and after that first word first letter should be capital. For example, customer name. It consists of two words. So customer is starting with the small c and name is the second word, so it is starting with the capital letter, that is N. Username and password, they are single words, so they are starting with the small one. If final variable, then all letters should be in capital and words must be connected with the underscore. For example, max underscore priority and minimum min balance. Naming a method. In method name, first word first letter should be small and after that every word first letter should be capital and should follow brackets or parenthesis. Like get username. So G should be in small letter and U should be in capital letter. Naming a package. All letters should be small and its length should be as short as possible. So these are the coding standard we are generally following in project. Template for simple Java application. This is the standard way to write a Java program. Comments, package, import statement, class name, then method body. In comments you can write the brief description about your program, what you are going to do in this. You can also give your name as a developer, then you can give the date also. Now we are going to discuss about these elements one by one. Java comments. In three ways we can write comments in Java. First, this is the syntax for multi-line comment, starting with the slash, then star, ending with star and then slash. Second is a single line comment by using double slash. Third is the comment given by the Java doc, that is written inside Java doc style comment. The statements placed inside these special characters are ignored by compiler while compiling the class. It means compiler will not generate bytecodes for those comments. So comments are not appeared in class file. Package. A folder is linked with the Java class is called package. To create a package, we have a keyword called package. It should be in small letter. Package statement should be the first statement in a Java file. It is optional. If we create a class without package keyword, then that class is set to be available in default package, that is the current working directory. Now This is the command for compiling and execution of a Java file. Packaged classes must be compiled with -d to create package physically, because compiler does not create package physically just with the javac command. And operator dot represents current working directory. And for execution, we must use package name in executing a package class, else it leads to exception. Now, if package is placed in another directory like e:abc, this is the directory name abc. So if package is placed in another directory, we must update its path in class path environment variable, else it leads to no class found error. So we have to update its path by using the -cp or -class path during execution of the program. Let's see one example how to compile and how to execute a program that is placed in the package. Demo is my class, and I created one package p1. I kept this demo file inside F drive. So F drive is my current working directory. How to compile? javac -d dot, it represents the current working directory, then my Java file name, that is demo dot java. File is compiled. After compilation, it will create the package p1 in F drive and my demo dot class. Now execute this class by using Java. During execution, we have to include package name p1 dot demo. Hello world. This is the output of my program. Import keyword. Import keyword is used to access one package member from another package classes. These are the some rules and regulations regarding the import keyword. Import statement must be placed before all class definition and after package. In a Java file, more than one import statements and only one package statement are allowed. To access package member from another package class, its members must be declared as public, else it leads to compile time error while access that member. We have two syntax to use import statement. First, import package name dot star. Here star represents all the classes present in the respective package. Import package name dot class name. If you want to import one particular class, then you can write it like import, then package name, then what class you want to import. Let's take an example to understand the import keyword. I created one class A inside package p2, and I have taken one x variable that is public, and I want to access this x variable from demo class, and demo class is present in the p1 package. So to access that x variable from p2 package, I have to use this import keyword and directly mention a.x to access this is the class name, to access that variable. Execute this one. First we have to compile a class. javac -d dot a dot java. After that, compile demo. Now execute demo class java p1 dot demo. See, here we are getting the value of x that is present inside the class A. We can also access the x variable that is present inside A class in demo class by using the fully qualified name of the class. Fully qualified means without using import keyword, p2.a. with the package name we are going to access. This is the package name inside which A class is present and x variable is present inside A class. So in this way also we can use the, or you can, in this way we can also access the x variable. First compile demo class, then execute this one. See, in this way also we are getting the value of x. But whenever we are not using import keyword, then this makes our code redundant, because every time writing the package name with the class, it will become complex. Just to reduce this problem, or just to solve this problem, Sun introduced import concept. Data types. Data types are used to store data temporarily in computer through a program. It gives information about size of memory, location, and range of data that can be accommodated inside that location. Different types of data types. There are two types of data type, that is primitive and reference data types. In primitive we are having 8, that is byte, short, int, long, boolean, float, char and double. Reference type data type. In this we are having 4, that is array, class, enum, interface. Here we will discuss about array. This is the list of primitive data types with its default value and size. Byte, its default size is 0, default value is 0 and size is 1 byte. Short, default value is 0 and size is 2, that is in bytes. Int, default value is 0, size is 4. Long, its default value is 0 and its size is 8 bytes. Float, its default value is 0.0f and its size is 4 bytes. Double, its default value is 0.0d and size is 8 bytes. Char, its default value is /u 4 times 0 and its size is 2 bytes. Boolean, its default value is false and its size is 1 byte. Array. In Java, array is a reference data type. It is used to store fixed number of multiple values of same type in continuous memory location using other primitive and reference types. Declaration of an array in Java. We can declare array like this: data type, whatever, like int, then reference variable. Here this is the preferred way. Don't use bracket, square brackets here. It will work, it will not going to give any error, but it is not a preferred way. Create an array of integers. In this way this is the integer and this is the integer array. This is the reference for integer array, and here this is the length, means how many elements it can store in that array. This is the length of that array, particular array. Initialize an array. Array always starts from index 0. So I created one array with its length 10. Now at index 0 I am storing 100, at index 1 I am storing 200, and then at index 2 I am initialize the value with 300. This is the shortcut way to create and initialize an array, integer array with the reference, and you can also write in the curly brackets like 100, 200, 300, 400 up to how much or how many elements you want to keep in that array. Java modifiers. There are two modifiers in Java. One is access modifier, other is non-access modifiers. Java provides a number of access modifiers to set access labels for classes, variables, methods, and constructors. The four access labels are like private, public, protected, and default. Private. The class members which have private keyword in its creation statement are called private members. Those members are only accessible within that class. Public. The class member and its members which have public keyword in its creation statement are called public members. Those members can be accessible from all places of Java application. Means it is visible to the world. Protected. The class members which have protected keyword in its creation are called protected members. Those members can be accessible within package from all classes, but from outside package only in subclass, that too only by using subclass objects. Default. If we do not use any of the above three access modifiers, then package label is default. It means that class and its members are not accessible from outside of that package. Let's take an example to understand these concepts. Here I have one class that is access modifiers, and I have variables like public integer a equal to 10. Access modifiers are like public, protected, private, and this is default. And there are four variables a, b, c, and d. Now I'm going to print the output on console. First of all, these are class level variables, so we have to access that class level variables by creating the object of that class, that is access modifiers. Here I am creating the object for that class, and then by using that object I am going to call these variables. This object concept you are going to learn in the OOPS concept. Now let's run this example. Java C -d dot, that is access modifiers dot java. Run this example. com dot see, here we are getting the value of a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to 30, and d is equal to 45. These variables are inside the same class where it was declared, like public, protected, private, and default. Now another one is private mod. This one is another example. In access modifiers I declared all the variables a, b, c, and d, and initialize with the respective values. Now I'm going to those variable from another class that is inside the same package com. Now let's see what will be the output. First create the object of that class, that is access modifiers, and in this one private modifier class, and access these variables by that object. Let's execute. Java C private modifier. The class name is private modifier. See, private modifier, this error we are getting because C is the private variable inside my access modifier. See, so we cannot access this private variable C outside of inside any other classes. So because of that only we are getting this error. First let's comment this one and check. Compile this program. It is compiled. Now execute java com dot private modifier. See, here we are getting the values for public, protected and default. So that's why those variables which are declared with the private, we cannot access those members from other classes. Now let's see that example for protected. As I already told, that class members which have protected keyword, they can be accessible within package from all classes, but from outside package only in subclass, that too only by using the subclass objects. So here I have created one package, that is org, and this access modifiers class, it is present in my com package. So first of all, if I want to access that protected member, that is B, I have to extend that access modifiers class. Now access modifier is my subclass, so first of all I have to create the object for that my subclass. Then by using that object I will access these variables A, B, C, D. So first of all, it can only be accessed by using the subclass, not by the access modifiers class. It will not be available when we are going to access this protected variable by using the access modifiers class, that where all those variables it is present. And by default, it is default variable, it is we can access within the same package, not outside the package. And private, as I already told you, it will be available within the same class, not out. Its scope is there. We cannot access private variable from other classes. Now check access modifier java c -d dot access modifier dot java. Compile this program. Now execute java org, this is my package name, dot my class name access modifier. See, this public value of A we are getting because we have used the access modifier, that is the parent class. This one is my subclass, and we are accessing the value of A by using the parent class. It is not possible to get these values B, C, D by using the parent class object, but by subclass we can access public as well as protected. So this is the output for access modifiers like public, private, protected and default. Non-access modifiers. Java provides a number of non-access modifiers to achieve many other functionality: static, final, abstract, synchronized and volatile. Static non-access modifier. If we are using any method or variables that is static, then there is no need to create object to access these variables and method. They can directly be available inside your class. Or if you want to access these variables or method, you can access by using the class name. Final. If we have a final class, then we cannot inherit that class. if we have final method, then we cannot override that method. Variables. If we have a final variable, then we cannot change its value. Abstract. For creating abstract classes and methods, we are using abstract keyword that we will learn in OOPS concept. The synchronized and volatile modifiers which are used for threads. Types of variables. Based on class scopes, variables are divided into two types: local variable and class level variable. Local variables. The variables created inside a method or a block are called local variables. They are automatically created when method is executing and are destroyed automatically after method execution is completed. Its scope is only within its method after its creation statement. Class level variable. The variable created at class level are called class level variable. You must create class level variable only if we want to access a value throughout the class from all its methods. Class level variables, they are divided into static variable and non-static variable. The variables which has a static keyword in its creation is called static variable, else it is called non-static variable. Static variable gets memory location when class is loaded into JVM. They get memory with respect to class name, so they are also called as class level variable. Its scope is throughout class. It means whenever class is available, the static variable is available provided it is public. Non-static variable. Non-static variable get memory location when object is created using new keyword. They get memory with respect to object, so they are also called as object variable or instance variables. They get destroyed when object is unreferenced or its reference variable is destroyed. Its scope is scope of object. Let's take an example to understand the concept of class level and local variable. See here in this example, I have taken 4 variables A, B, C, D. These 4 variables are my class level variables, and this is one method, that is public static void main. And here I have taken variables like A, D, T. These are my local variables. I had used static keyword, so this one is my static variable, and here I didn't use any static, so it is my non-static variable. Here I had taken one variable like C, that is uninitialized. So if I want to access this C variable, it will give me compile time error because this variable it is not initialized. And this non-static variable we can access by creating the object of my class, that is variable, because this variable is non-static, so that we have to create the object first and then we have to access that variable by using that object. Static variable, there is no need to use any object to access this. We can directly access by using the class name, or if it is present in the same class, then there is no use to a class name. Final. If a variable it is declared as final, then we cannot change its value. Here in this method I had taken final int t is equal to 40. Again I am initializing the value of 35, t equal to 35, then it will give me compile time error because we cannot change the value of t, that is final. And in one method I cannot declare two variables with the same name. If I'm going now, here I will get the value of final d is equal to 20, even though I have final int d is equal to 30. So here if I am going to print the value of final variable d, I will get the value as 30, not this final int d is equal to 20, because this is local to my method. Because of that only I will get the value of d as 30, not 20. Control flow statements. I think you people are already aware with the control flow statements because it is same like C. First of all, let's understand what do you mean by control flow statements. Control flow statements is used to break the flow of execution by employing decision making, looping, and branching, enabling our program to continually execute particular blocks of code. Java has very flexible three looping mechanisms, that is while, do while, and for loop. While statement. While statement continually executes a block of statements while a particular condition is true. Let's see this example. Here I had taken one variable, that is x is equal to 10. This one is my while condition. So 10 is less than 20. So it will come to here. It will print 10. Then its value is going to be incremented by 1. And this one for new line. Now the value of x become 11. It will again come to this loop. So 11 is less than 20. Yes, it will print the value as 11. Same like up to 19, this loop is going to be continually execute up to this condition is true. Do while. The difference between do while and while is that do while evaluates its expression at the bottom of the loop instead of the top. In the previous example, this while expression it is at the top, but here it is at the bottom. So whatever here I had taken x with the value 1. So whatever the value of x will be for the first time, it is going to print it here. Then it will come in, it will increment its value by 1, and it is going to be checked here. So 2 is less than 5, so it will print 2. Up to 4, this loop is going to be continued. For loop. For loop is simple as compared to while and do while, because everything like initialization, termination, and increment, everything it is inside one line or one statement. So here I have given an example. For integer I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, and I plus plus, means I have initialized the value of I is equal to 1 up to what condition, the I less than or equal to 5. This loop is going to be continue, and every time it is going to be incremented by value 1. So its output from 1 to 5. Break keyword. The break keyword is used to stop the entire loop. The break keyword must be used inside any loop or a switch statement. See here, I had taken integer array and the values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is enhanced for loop, same like it is working same like for loop. So for the first time value of x is 1, so it will skip this loop. That is, if x is equal to 3, this condition is false, so it will come to here and it will print the value as 1. This is a statement for new line, and again it will value of x will be 2. Again this statement will be skipped, and then it will print the value as 2. Now if x is equal to 3, it will come here, break that loop, and we will get the output like 1 and 2 only. Continue keyword. The continue keyword can be used in any of the loop control structure. It causes the loop to immediately jump to the next iteration of the loop. So this one is the same like previous example. I have created one array, that is integer array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one is my enhanced for loop. If for the first time value will be 1, so it will print 1. Because it will not come to here, this condition is false. For the second time also same thing, it will skip this step and it will print the value as 2. When the value of x reaches to 3, then continue. This keyword will be invoked and it jump to the next iteration, that is 4, and it will print the value as 4, and for the next time 5, and it will give you the output like 1, 2, 4 and 5. It is not going to print the value 3. Decision making statements. There are two types of decision making statements in Java: if statement and switch statements. If statements consist of a Boolean expression followed by one or more statements. An if statement can be followed by an optional else statement, which executes when Boolean expression is false. See here in this example, I have taken one variable, that is x equal to 5. This one is my if. Here this is my expression. So this expression is true, then it will print x is equal to 5. If this expression is false, then it will come to here and it will print x is not equal to 5. Output for this program is x is equal to 5 because I have my variable is x and its value is 5. Nested if else statement. Here I have taken one for loop for iterating 1 to 5. So inside that if, and this one is a else condition. For the first time value is equal to I value is 1, so it will not come to this one, it will directly come to here and it will print the value as 1. Second time also it will come here and it will print the value as 2. For the third time it will enter into this if loop and it will print the value as I is equal to 3. Then I equal to I plus 1, then it evaluates this expression I is equal to I plus 1, its value become 4 and it will print the message that I is equal to 4. Now this condition is false, again it will come for the now it will become 5 and its condition is false here, so it will come to here and it will print the value as 5. Switch statement. A switch statement allows a variable to be treated for equally against a list of values. Each value is called a case and the variable being switched or is checked for each case. See here, in this one I have taken one character that is C and I'm going to match with each cases. For the first time, this one is my switch statement. Inside that I have taken different cases like case A, case C and F, and this one is default. So for the first time case A, it is not matches with the C, so it will not going to print this message. When it will come to here, it will break and it will come to here C. Yes, it matches, so it will give you the message as well done. If my case is not matches with any of the cases, then it will give you the by default message like invalid grade. So this is all about control first. Garbage collection. Garbage collection is one of the important concepts in Java. It is the process of looking at heap memory, identifying which objects are in use and which are not, and deleting the unused or unreferenced objects. First of all, let's understand about unreferenced object and the reference objects. A reference object means that when some part of our program still maintains a pointer to an object is called reference object. And an unreferenced object means when an object is no longer referenced by any part of our program is called an unreferenced object. So, the memory used by an unreferenced object can be reclaimed. In C, allocating and deallocating memory is a manual process. In Java, process of deallocating memory is handled automatically by the garbage collection. The basic process can be described as follows. Marking. In this, garbage collection identifies which pieces of memory are in use and which are not. For example, here all blue color boxes are representing alive objects or the reference object, and all yellow color boxes are representing the unreferenced objects. Normal deletion. After marking, it removes unreferenced objects, leaving reference objects. To further improve performance, in addition to deleting unreferenced objects, you can also compact the remaining reference objects. By moving reference objects together, this makes a new memory allocation much easier and faster. How to make Java objects eligible for garbage collection? An object becomes eligible for garbage collection when it becomes unreachable by any code. And in two ways we can make Java objects eligible for garbage collection. First, explicitly set the reference variable that refers to the object to null. Reassign the reference variable that points to the object to refer to the other object. For example, here I have taken one class that is X and I created two objects for that class, X1 and X2. Both are pointing to the X object, new by using the new operator I am creating the objects. Now I am setting x1 is equal to null. Now this object is eligible for garbage collection, and for x2 I am assigning the object of y. Earlier it was pointing to x, now it is pointing to the object of y. So these are the two ways by which we can make an object eligible for garbage collection. Garbage collection can be invoked using system.gc or runtime.getRuntime.gc method. I hope now you have got the basic idea of